Australia is set to evacuate thousands more people from Sydney's suburbs as the region grapples with its worst flooding in decades. Heavy rains have swelled rivers across New South Wales state, causing widespread damage. Emergency services fear that more than 50,000 people could be displaced as forecasts show more rain is on the way.
A desperate attempt to save a stranded horse. Torrential rain and flash floods in Australia's state of New South Wales have cut owners off from their animals. For many creatures, help has come too late. At least 18,000 people have been evacuated from their homes as rivers and dams overflow. Some are trying to shore up their houses as best they can ahead of the looming waters. Others have already seen their homes ravaged by the flooding.
Oh, everything downstairs. Carpets, cupboards, everything's gone. But neighbour was worse off than I am, so you've got to be thankful for small mercies.
But residents have been warned that the worst may still be to come and told to brace for a difficult week ahead.
Australia is being tested once again. The east coast of Australia, predominantly New South Wales, but I stressed also in southeast Queensland, has faced an extraordinary deluge over recent days. In many places, rains are expected for at least the next 24 to 48 hours, but I fear worse.
The extreme downpours battering Australia's east have caused the worst flooding in half a century. Having already battled drought, bushfires and the ongoing coronavirus pandemic over the past year, communities are feeling pushed to breaking point.
And we can speak now to Poppy Brown. She's the director of the Australian Red Cross for New South Wales and the Australian Capital Territory. Poppy, thank you for joining us. As we heard, dozens of communities have been isolated. 38 areas have now been declared disaster zones. Put this into context for us. How dire is the situation right now?
Well, yes, it has been a very difficult few days here. And as your montage said, we have had 18,000 people evacuated. We've supported over 1,000 people in evacuation centres. Those are people who had nowhere else to go. In some areas, it's a once-in-a-century flood event. And a lot of these areas suffered in the bushfires about a year or so ago and drought as well. So particularly, it's been a particularly hard couple of years for those communities. And this is just yet one more setback for them. So we're trying to do all we can to support them in this situation, but it is a very difficult time at the moment.
Yeah, what are the biggest challenges you're facing right now?
So one of the things we're facing is the fact that the waters have risen so quickly. So in some areas, people have had to be woken in the middle of the night. They've had to evacuate in just the clothes that they're wearing. So we've had people come to evacuation centres, just in wet clothes with their children, with their animals, and they're in shock. They've been traumatised. All their possessions are in their homes. So it's been very, very difficult for those people. And also there are a lot of concerns about, the livestock in the farms and things like that. So, yeah, it is a very difficult time, but our communities are very strong and resilient. So we will bounce back. But all the agencies and the government is trying the best that we can to help our communities at the moment.
With tens of thousands of people already displaced and more rain forecast, what are you telling people on how they can protect themselves?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're very much ensuring that everybody has an emergency plan. And if people are in those areas that look like they're in danger, that what they should do is they should go and stay with friends and family, should pack up their homes. If they need to, move to higher ground and make sure they follow all of the instructions of the emergency services, and then that they will be safe. What we don't want to have is people, needing to be rescued in the flood, because so far we have had no loss of life. So we want to make sure that it stays that way.
If more rain does come, are you worried that the situation could get worse?
Oh, absolutely. So it's a very volatile situation at the moment. I know that in the Sydney area, the big water dam that supports the Sydney area, it's currently spilling over every single day enough water to fill Sydney Harbour. So that's the amount of water that's going into the rivers in that area, and then they come downstream and there's a risk of flooding. So we're not over the worst yet, but we certainly have our fingers crossed that the rain eases and the flood situation eases, because a lot of people are likely to be impacted.
Poppy Brown, Director of the Australian Red Cross for New South Wales and the Australian Capital Territory, thank you very much.
Thank you.